Cuba has officially joined South Africa's lawsuit against Israel for genocide in Palestine, as announced by the International Court of Justice in The Hague on January 13, 2025. The Mexican government has ratified that the country is ready to receive migrants deported from the United States under the best conditions. And in the United States, right-wing gusts from Santa Ana complicate firefighters' work and jeopardize the rescue of the bodies of the dead victims of two huge fires affecting Los Angeles. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We'll begin with the news. And Cuba officially joined South Africa's lawsuit against Israel for genocide in Palestine, the International Court of Justice announced on January 13, 2025. Invoking Article 63 of the ICJ statute, Cuba condemned Israel's long-standing actions against the Palestinian people, calling attention to the urgent need for accountability and justice in the face of systematic oppression. This intervention underscores Cuba's commitment to supporting Palestinian rights and highlights the role of the ICJ as a critical platform for addressing violations of international law. The Cuban government emphasized that immediate international action is necessary to confront Israel's policies and protect human rights amid the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Gaza. The United States has announced that a ceasefire agreement could be reached in Gaza as early as this week, although the Israeli army continues its deadly assault on the Palestinian enclave. On Monday, outgoing U.S. President Joe Biden said a ceasefire could be reached after more than a year of carnage in Palestine. Also, White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said during a press conference earlier in the day that a deal may be possible in a matter of days, although such an agreement is not guaranteed. Meanwhile, the resistance movement Hamas has also stated that talks have made some progress on some of the contentious issues that have been discussed on numerous occasions throughout 15 months of genocide that has claimed the lives of more than 46,000 Palestinians in Gaza.
On the war between Israel and Hamas, we're on the brink of a proposal that I laid out in detail months ago, finally coming to fruition. I have learned in many years of public service to never, ever.
In South Africa, operation is underway to rescue a group of miners trapped in a gold mine. The group mining affected communities united in action says at least 400 men are still trapped and many have died. Sabelo Nguni, spokesman for the group mining, said a cell phone sent to the surface with some miners rescued on Friday had two videos showing dozens of bodies on the ground wrapped in plastic. Nguni also said a minimum of 100 men had died, suspected of starvation or dehydration. A professional mine rescue company has so far sent a large cage into the mine shaft near Stilfontein, about 140 kilometers southwest of Johannesburg, and it has been confirmed by Sukwisi Jam, the South African National Civic Organization, that 7 people have been rescued. Now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Mexico's Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Juan Ramon Lafuente, has ratified that the country is ready to receive migrants deported from the United States under the best conditions. This is what he said during the Consultative Forum for the Elaboration of a National Development Plan 2025-2030 held in the northwestern state of Sonora this Monday. President-elect Donald Trump's anti-immigrant law has started its countdown, and in fact, Congress is about to approve the law that allows deportations, with the support of Democrats included. The Secretary explained that Mexico's consular network in the United States is ready to provide comprehensive assistance to its nationals.
As migration in these times plays a fundamental role for individual and collective development.
Lo volvemos a reiterar y ustedes de diversas maneras en sus mesas de
That is
trabajo.
why we reiterate it again, and you in different ways in your work tables, reflect it with your conclusions. Those who want to return to our country or who are forced to return will be welcomed with open arms.
A regresar serán recibidos con los brazos abiertos y con todas las oportunidades que merecen.
And with all the opportunities they deserve to reinsert themselves in the productive work life, to have health services, education, social protection, and security. That is the commitment of the government of President Sheinbaum and is the priority of Mexican foreign policy.
President Claudia Sheinbaum gave a report in her first 100 days in office where she highlighted the Mexican humanism model under the premise of for the good of all, first the poor, works to generate well-being. Antonio Aranda, our correspondent, has the details.
In her first 100 days in administration, Claudia Sheinbaum has shown that she will follow the policies of the so-called Fourth Transformation. However, she will have to profile her own style of government, considers this analyst.
The legislature of the Congress of the Union that started with his mandate, or almost with his mandate, had a great avalanche of constitutional reforms approved, but most of them were basically the agenda of President López Obrador. Many of these changes are initiated by him. There are some issues such as substantive equality, such as the reform that gives social security to digital platform workers that are hers. But we are at a very early stage to say that there is a differentiation from her.
Among the challenges that generate more expectations in the short term is the bilateral relationship with the United States.
A person who wants to deal with Donald Trump has to be very astute, has to be very crafty, has to be very left-handed, has to know how to appear to be strong while feigning weakness and vice versa. Obviously, what we are seeing here is a defense of the connationals residing in the United States because of their own extra-official condition, not naturally accredited. But apart from that, they are wrapping themselves in the flag. We are going to work, we are going to collaborate, but we are not going to submit ourselves.
In 2025, security and judiciary reform will be high on Sheinbaum's political agenda.
We are going to see how this year develops and how President Sheinbaum performs, and obviously her success is something that concerns us all. United States, security and judicial reform are going to be the three strong issues, and how much capacity Claudia Sheinbaum is going to have to maintain leadership within the great coalition that is Morena.
The increase in the minimum wage is one of the most appropriate policies to improve the welfare of the working class, according to this specialist.
Something that we have found to be going in the right direction is the increase to the minimum wage. What we have seen is that between 2018 and 2024, this minimum wage has recovered 111% of its purchasing power in real terms. The president's promise is that the minimum wage will be equivalent to 2.5 basic food baskets.
The promotion of higher education is another strategy that will improve the population's standard of living in the medium term.
Education is related to greater opportunities and higher average income growth. It is a strategy that is sorely needed. In the end, we want economic growth, and for that we need a robust training of different professions, especially through higher education and vocational training programs. In the end, this must be a great success in order to grow. We need an increase in the human capital of the population. This is more than necessary.
The increase in social programs and more support for women are public policies that will help strengthen their development, the specialist explains.
I would like to highlight the return of the full-time schools. These were eliminated during the last administration, and it is a good thing for the president to reinstate these programs. In the Mexican labor market, we have a great failure, and it is the low labor participation of women. And when we analyze the causes, we find the use of the time that women dedicate to the care of children, the elderly, and the sick, which at the end of the day is unpaid work.
Sheinbaum has denounced that the right-wing opposition wants the contraction of democracy, but she is committed to maintaining the separation of powers as effective counterweights for institutional stability. One of the commitments of President Sheinbaum as a guiding principle of her policy is to prevent the return of the neoliberal system that socializes losses and privatizes profits.
Antonio Aranda, teleSUR, Ciudad de México.
In Venezuela, the Vice President for International Affairs of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, Randall Peña, questioned on Monday who is in charge of Colombia's foreign policy, whether President Gustavo Petro or Foreign Minister Gilberto Murillo. Through an article, the representatives of the party warned that the Colombian Foreign Minister obeys former President Juan Manuel Santos and the government of the United States. Randall Peña explained that according to the Colombian Constitution, the President must direct the foreign policy of the country. However, it seems that this attribution has been outsourced to the U.S., with former President Santos as intermediary and Foreign Minister Murillo as executor. According to Peña, the U.S. has ordered the Colombian Foreign Minister to boycott everything that has to do with Venezuela. And the Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian congratulated the President of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, on the start of his third term, reaffirming his country's support for the Venezuelan people and government. Through his social media, the Iranian president reaffirmed his country's willingness to strengthen bilateral relations between the two peoples. Likewise, he condemned the aggressions against the Venezuelan government and people, stressing that any foreign intervention and attempt to threaten and sanction the country is doomed to failure. President Nicolás Maduro was sworn in for a third consecutive term after being elected by the Venezuelan people in the elections held on July 28th. The Venezuelan presidency inauguration has been marked by a media war and failed attempts to destabilize the country, led by the country's far right and backed by the United States. The International Congress of Communications in Caracas came to an end after 2 days of work. The Congress has taken a number of important decisions. Details from a special envoy, Yunus Soner.
Caracas, Venezuela continues to be a global center of the fight against fascism and imperialism. After 3 days of the World Festival of the Anti-Fascist International, on Monday finished the International Congress of Communication with an anti-fascist, anti-colonial, anti-patriarchal and anti-imperialist agenda. Its objective is to be part of constructing a new world.
A communication intended to recreate the narratives for changing the world, changing the subjectivities, the identities, changing the leading people who is creating the new states, the new utopias, the new forms to be people, to be humanity.
More than 400 delegates from 100 countries came together for 2 days. Their battlefield, communication, networks and the so-called social media owned by Western corporations. In 8 workshops, they discussed ideas and proposals with concrete outcomes.
We decided to make an executive secretary to work permanently, not just in Venezuela, also in each other country that is getting over here.
A number of decisions were taken. Delegates agreed to establish the Hugo Chavez International People's Communication Award. The first grantee are the more than 100 Palestinian journalists who lost their lives in Israel's attacks.
Imperialism's walls cannot be an obstacle against the communication and development of the peoples that love independence, peace, and justice. This Congress is a beacon and a window for us.
Creating the network of the networks. Established was a permanent secretariat within the International University of Communication, an international team of researchers, and the plan of action for the creation of media content. Media institutions will consolidate their relations within what delegates called the network of the networks, globally.
As you you know, Islamic resistance comes from other nature. Latin American socialism, the other one. But when these people are trying hard to fight against imperialism, come under or unite themselves under a unique flag of.
Several speakers spoke about coordinating the effort with China and Russia. Delegates from the latter have already ideas.
Russia has his own experience to struggle with fake news on political level, on society level. We can propose a project of laws for any countries how to work with fake news.
In her closing remarks, the rector of the International University of Communications, Tania Diaz, said the Congress was a step further to complete Simón Bolívar's dream. In communications, the Liberator's vision is now beginning to embrace the entire world. Yunus Soner, teleSUR, Caracas, Venezuela.
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. In the United States, right-wing gusts from Santana, difficult firefighters' work and jeopardize the rescue of the bodies of the dead victims of two huge fires affecting Los Angeles. The Palisades and Eden fires that have already consumed more than 40,000 acres, the equivalent of an area larger than the city of San Francisco, could intensify. Wind gusts of 72 to 112 kilometers per hour are forecast to persist through Wednesday. Rescue officials acknowledge that this is a worst-case scenario, especially since there are more than 20 bodies to be rescued and at least 23 people are confirmed missing. The Palisades fire is currently only 14% contained and the Eden fire 33% contained. And in France, migrants have been occupying a theater in Paris for about a month, demand that the government provide them with housing. According to local media, last December, the Gaite Lyric Theatre in Paris hosted a free conference entitled Reinventing the Reception of Refugees in France, which attracted more than 250 African immigrants, led by Parisian activists. Currently, around 300 people have occupied the theatre's facilities to intensify their demands for housing from the country's government. It is important to emphasize that the immigrants occupying the theatre arrived in the country claiming to be under 18, which would entitle them to housing and assistance from the local authorities, but they were considered adults and most ended up sleeping on the streets. In Romania, thousands of people took to the streets of Bucharest to protest against the decision to cancel the elections, expressing their support for candidate Gergescu. The protest comes a month after the Constitutional Court announced the decision to annul the presidential elections after the pro-Russian candidate Călin Gergescu won the first round of the elections. Demonstrators demanded the resignation of the Romanian president and the resumption of the second round of the elections. The cancellation of the presidential contest was announced under accusations of electoral violations and Russian interference, a decision that plunged the country into political chaos. In Prayagraj, India, the Maha Kumbh Mela 2025 has officially begun, with organizers expecting around 400 million attendees over the 6-week festival. Kicking off on January 13th, the event featured the auspicious Push Purnima Snan, where millions gathered to bathe at the sacred confluence of the Ganges, Yamuna, and mythical Saraswati rivers. As the largest religious gathering in the world, the Kumbh Mela showcases India's rich cultural heritage alongside its spiritual practices. This year's festival is particularly significant due to a rare celestial alignment, enhancing its spiritual importance. And Benin celebrated Voodoo Day, a festivity focused on the arts, culture, and spirituality around this cult. Let's learn more in the following material.
In the southern city of Ouida in this African country, dozens of participants gathered for a 3-day celebration of this traditional event, which featured a mix of vibrant songs, dances, and the display of characteristic attire.
Bailes y la exhibición de atuendos característicos.
In practice, women play a central role during the organization of the rites and meetings, being the main responsible for teaching and sharing this knowledge to young and old people.
Ese conocimiento hacia los jóvenes y personas mayores.
Imagine
a voodoo ceremony without all those people telling sermons. As you can see, most of them are women, because they are the ones who will carry the energy. Don't forget that everything is a matter of vibrations, energy, and frequency. So women, through their voices and through their hearts, give the energy and frequencies necessary for the manifestation of the divine energy.
Women are considered guardians of the spiritual and cultural transmission of this tradition, linked to the powers of nature and ancestors. Some festival celebrations are even specifically dedicated to female divinities such as Mami Wada and Sikpada, underlining the importance of the role of women in the collective cultural action.
Anyone can join the voting cult. As soon as a person presents himself, he is put in contact with the priests, who explain the conditions to be met in order to be able to access the practice or simply the initiation.
Every year, thousands of tourists from all over the world flock to the city of Ouida, considered the cradle of voodoo, to watch dozens of the faithful perform these practices and activities around the Voodoo Day cult, a festivity that enhances the spiritual and cultural heritage of the country.
Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For telesur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.